This ChatGPT influencer trip just exposed a massive disaster, as a bunch of influencers are now facing some serious backlash for going on this trip that was held in upstate New York this past weekend. Essentially, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, decided to do one of these influencer summer trips where they invited a whole bunch of influencers to this super nice resort in the Hudson Valley. And it really just shows off the disconnect between the coastal elite CMOs and the everyday person. The whole thing just comes across as extremely tone deaf. And while some immediately try to cover their tracks by just deleting their videos and pretending they never went, others just kind of doubled down and even attempted to dunk on their fans. And a select few are totally ignoring the heat and just simply deleting negative comments. But they're still referring to this brand trip as a summer camp and showing themselves doing stuff like beekeeping and exploring a luxurious farm. And they're even capturing their videos things like, "Reminder to touch grass. Do you know what would look good on that grass? A data center." I mean, at this day and age, they would put a data center up your ass if they could. But when it comes to this whole OpenAI influencer trip, viewers really criticize these activities and the location of the trip as pretty ironic, considering, AI data farms are getting a whole lot of pushback for their environmental impacts. Because you see, you can't really beekeep if there's no bees left. Imagine if this summer camp was just in the data center alley in Virginia and you couldn't hear the buzzing of the bee sounds or anything from the birds because all you could hear is the roaring Caterpillar backup generators because they've already overloaded the regular power grid. Fun fact, on July 22nd this year, people's power was flickering between Chicago, Miami, and Boston. Yeah, that whole massive corner of the east coast of the US. Why? Well, because of some equipment failure in the data center alley in Virginia. Regardless, generative AI specifically has been a hot button topic over the last couple of years as it starts to seep into every aspect of our lives, whether we really want it or not. It is definitely taking effect on people's critical thinking skills and also being used to create graphic images of people against their will, while, wasting some resources doing so. So it's easy to see why someone would be upset with influencers promoting this brand. And it all started this last weekend when OpenAI hosted their very first brand trip in upstate New York at a place called Wildflower Farms, where rooms are apparently over $2,000 a night. Creators were invited to a luxury retreat and treated to things like farm-to-table dinners, classes on AI products and usage, and like I mentioned before, beekeeping. And I guess if the farm that hosted this event is already getting hit with 1-star reviews over their involvement, I'm sure you can only imagine what the influencers who bragged about getting sent to this brand trip are getting. So you have video after video showcasing the rooms and glamorous dinners starting to pop up alongside with gems like this one where they all just kind of admit that they can't communicate with their friends and families themselves anymore. Excuse me, what?
Most unhinged ChatGPT hack. I upload with people that I'm dating. I'll upload our text conversation and get a sense of the vibe, how I should respond, all of that.
I received a text from a friend that I didn't love, and I put it into ChatGPT, and it helped me respond to it, and it diffused the situation almost instantly.
I would say relationship advice. I probably have a problem where I ask Chat if the things I'm doing are okay or not, and just have it reflect my actions.
Okay, what? That is not... You shouldn't have to rely on AI to do that. I'm just going to leave it there. And then, of course, you have people trying to convince that WALL-E was just predicting the future, which is definitely not the world or universe I want to live in.
In the future, we're going to be typing with our feet.
Yeah, it's not looking good for us, but a lot of these videos, they're now deleted or completely spammed out with negative comments. So why? Well, so from what I can tell, the first creator who started getting some serious heat from promoting this whole trip was a creator by the name of Grace McCarrick. Grace has about 90,000 followers on Instagram and has built a brand about building soft skills, aka, I guess, corporate leadership training. And I don't think she expected to be on the receiving end of such horrible PR given her job, because she first caught critics' attention when she posted an "Unwind with me at ChatGPT's first brand trip" video to her Instagram. And honestly, it just kind of starts off boring more than tone deaf. It's just kind of her running a bath and using some fancy salt crystals. But then she starts going into more about the trip details. And this is where she starts to lose people.
Okay, so basically this was crazy because I had no idea what to expect. We didn't get a ton of information going in. I had no idea who was going to be here. I did not know that I would know people here. It is just kind of a small world, but it has been the most energizing thing. We have learned so much. The entire thing feels thoughtful. The people here feel thoughtful. The activities are thoughtful. The seating is thoughtful. Like, this is it. There's like a nerdy element here. There's like, these are people who like to learn and think. And it has just been like, it has just been shockingly so good and so cool. And I can't believe I'm here. And I'm going to go take a bath. But I will be back.
So at the core of things, she lost people by partaking and promoting OpenAI, which is, for the most part, spearheading the next layer of enshittification that is now really just a part of our reality, because they opened a can of worms, which you can't like reseal that one. That one's now open forever, and I guess that is the AI boom, because we've never seen anything ever get adopted as quickly as AI. And what do you need when you have millions of people using AI daily? Well, a whole lot of computing power. And how do you get this computing power? Well, by building a whole bunch of data centers. Hence all the data center jokes from earlier, because obviously we've been relying on data centers since the start of the internet. Like, this is how you're watching this video currently. But after the AI boom, we've never seen more money just get punted into a space ever before. Meaning, data centers are now being put up all across the United States and around the world at faster rates than ever, now including small communities and in many cases against people's will. Like this one in rural Michigan, and the one that's going up close to the Nashville Zoo, and the $500 billion data center complex OpenAI is building with NVIDIA backing. And these data centers, not just the ones built for OpenAI, but also Amazon, Meta, and so on and so on, you see, they're currently being criticized heavily for causing a whole multitude of problems for the people who live near them. Things like noise pollution, contaminated water, harmful emissions, and increasing energy costs for locals. And in some cases, it's also displacing people. And currently, each state and county, they're kind of going at this a little differently, but it seems like the most common mediation for this enshittification is, I guess, reduction in property taxes. And I guess that's kind of cool and all, except most people in my generation are not homeowners. So, I guess that's just another example of millennials and Gen Z getting the end of the stick. But I guess that's cool and all, which is why I think a whole bunch of people found these influencers frolicking around on a $2,000 a night resort and talking about intentionality as a little bit tone deaf.
I'm on my first brand trip. I don't know how to do this vlog because I have never done a vlog like this. This is I don't know anything. This is like not my content world, but I'm dying. I wanted to brush my hair, but I just came off fresh off a farm tour. Let me show you what's going on here. Okay, welcome. We're walking in. Oh, okay.
So Grace here shows off the farmland that she's staying on in her giant room and is obviously hyped that she was brought out on this brand trip. But again, it didn't take too long for viewers to start questioning what she was supporting.
And by the way, for my first ever brand trip, ChatGPT, not a bad brand. OpenAI, not a bad brand.
And of course, Grace was not alone on this trip, so other summer camp videos kept coming out.
You guys, I literally just checked into my whole cabin for a 2-day brand trip with none other than...
Yeah, and that video is interesting because it actually tells you a lot about the creators that are on this trip. Essentially, these are LinkedIn influencers. So essentially, the people who make content for your very career-driven white-collar person. And the backlash that they're receiving is, for the most part, outside of their corporate world bubble, which is why I think a lot of them are kind of like surprise Pikachu that they're getting backlash at all.
Charlie's in the bus. It is actually so pretty. Shut up. My God.
How does one get invited?
Dude, consistency, showing up every single day.
And I guess once the general public had seen enough, the influx of comments asking these creators to consider what they're promoting definitely started flooding in. And it's safe to say, these creators did not like or even seem to expect this backlash because, again, it seems like this is the first time that they're reaching people outside of their corporate bubble. So some decided to just delete their posts, and others, I assume, hadn't really gotten around to posting their content from the trip yet, so I guess they just kind of laid low. But there were a few who just kind of doubled down. So Grace and Meg Loves Data decided to just double down and imply that the haters are simply just jealous who hate their lives. I don't think that argument has ever won an argument before, but to each their own.
I'm only going to answer 2 comments from this comment section, purely just because it feels like dunking on people that are like having a hard time in life anyway. I mean, roll through these, give a click to these profiles. Like, this is not a pretty picture. People aren't rating crazy in other people's comments because they love their lives.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, that's just an awful response. I mean, there's literally no reason to make this emotionally charged response. Like, I get that she's doing this whole natural reaction of getting punched, so she's punching back. And I'm reading through the comments here against her, and a lot of them are very vile, which is just sad. But what I'm seeing, and I'm trying to read between the lines here, is I'm seeing a lot of anger here that isn't really towards her personally. The anger, for the most part, is towards OpenAI and the adjacent companies. And many people look at them as kind of like untouchable megacorps. So they assume that they're not going to hear their voices. So when a influencer promotes them, that's someone who can actually hear their anger. And I guess in this case, Grace, was the one posting, so she heard it from the people. But regardless, when Grace climbed down off of her soapbox from that response, she kind of explained that her reasoning for supporting this was the fact that she wanted to be in the room with the people creating these products.
I am supremely excited about AI and the opportunities it offers to our species. Full stop. Beyond that, anything where there's going to be some vast, sweeping change to the way we live, if I have the opportunity to be in the room and hear from people who are at the helm of that change, I'm going to do that. Actually, it's well within my value system and my moral compass to attend ChatGPT's first brand trip. And not only that, it was incredibly exciting for me. I am not someone whose brain works in this incredibly technological way. So much better getting in a room with people who designed it, who are using it all the time, and then people who have similar jobs to me, and being able to be like, oh, okay, these are all the different ways we can use it. These are all the different opportunities we have. Like that, that was really exciting for me. So thank you for being worried, but no. My morals were fine.
And for her reasoning is fair because I guess the context matters. She is a LinkedIn white-collar career influencer, and OpenAI is one of the biggest companies in the world. All of the incentives are there for her and for the people at the event to support OpenAI because, being associated to them gives them a whole bunch of career clout and opportunities in their own circle. But to everyone else outside of the bubble that she's in, this was not the dunk that she thought it was. And somehow it keeps getting worse because when people essentially accused her of, I guess, folding for these tech companies and their money, she said this.
Honestly, there's such a disappointing lack of gay equity in these comments. LGBTQIA awareness. You should know that if I'm going to sleep with someone for a brand deal, it's not going to be a tech bro. And just in case you're making a list, it's not going to be anyone ugly either.
What? Why? Why say that? I have no idea why she would handpick the childish criticism that she received and respond on her platform like that in an immature way. That's not going to do her any favors. There was plenty of other comments that actually kind of articulated why people were angry, and she chose not to answer to them. So again, I don't know why she chose to respond at all if this was the way that she decided to respond.
Quite a vivid picture here that came to your head pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I am romantically spoken for, so I cannot help you with filling out this vision that's in your head. But I so encourage you to get out into the world, to go to a bar, to go to a coffee shop, meet some people. If you are currently dating men, I would think, straight girls don't generally tell other girls to spread their legs. But I don't know. Maybe I'm kink shaming here.
Yeah, again, this just doesn't help her whatsoever. Just blanket terming people giving you criticism as miserable losers is definitely a very tone-deaf strategy. But people like Meg Loves Data didn't make response videos, but she did, I guess, take some time to try to diffuse the situation in her comments, which also didn't really work because she ended up turning them off. But here in the comments, she did admit that she didn't get paid for a trip like people were accusing. And then people commented that that was almost worse. And that was kind of what I was expecting here as well, because the majority of these brand trips that at least I've been offered, they aren't paid at all. The payment is the experience. And I think that's the case for most of the creators who are part of this trip as well. And also, I have never accepted a brand trip, mainly because it just doesn't make sense with the content I make. Also, for the most part, they're not even paid, but they want you to document it for content. And I don't want to be here and be like, hey guys, I'm in Miami Beach, Florida, wearing this sunscreen. Hope you guys are having a great day. Like, it's just not interesting. And if I'm away from my studio, I'd either want to be with my family or traveling for good content that actually interests both me and you. If not, I just want to sit in my studio and make videos because that's basically all I do. But I guess looking back at other creators there, most people stayed silent and filtered their comments, so only the supportive ones actually showed up. And like I said, even Meg Loves Data gave up on arguing and simply just shut off her comments. And Grace even also pivoted back to her old content, but the comments on those videos are still about the brand trip and how she responded. But let's go back to the can of worms that OpenAI kind of opened. And I feel like this creator trip really exposed a massive disaster. And that can of worms is the AI race, not only between companies, but between the US and China. Now, AI adoption has been faster than anything that we've ever seen get adopted. Apparently, 30% of 13 to 17-year-olds use it daily, 31% of 18 to 29-year-olds, and 34% of 30 to 49-year-olds use AI daily. And I guess it's really important for these companies and for the US that these numbers continue to increase, which is why I think you see these brand events happen. Because a significant drop in domestic AI usage would directly threaten the US's position in the global AI race. So the American AI ecosystem basically operates a commercial flywheel that really requires massive revenue to sustain its geopolitical lead against China, which is why I think they've just allowed everyone to use so much AI slop, because clearly all of this slop is being subsidized. So who gave randoms on Twitter the ability to AI feet reveal celebrities? And like, why is that a thing? That's kind of what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. So, I mean, AI, again, is currently being subsidized heavily. Hence why I don't think they care how you really use the AI. All they really care about is that you use it. And one of those videos from the brand trip really proves that.
I'm in a scenario with a friend or my partner and I'm not sure how to react. I'll feed in the scenario and I'll just ask it how I should answer.
Schedule task that yells at me about priorities.
Chat responds to the unhinged messages I get from men sometimes, and chat reads them to filth.
I say act like a psychic medium and tell me all the things that I need to focus on this week and all the things that are tripping me out.
Like, come on, what is this? Like, you should never have to rely on an AI chatbot to date. Please don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that to the other person you date. Also, you should never rely on AI chatbot to give you relationship advice. This is how you give yourself AI psychosis, because again, AI chatbots, they're built for retention. If you don't like the answers, you won't come back. And how do I know this? Well, we recently covered a dude who used ChatGPT to help justify stalking and harass something like 18 different women in a whole bunch of different states. And seemingly, at no time did ChatGPT go, whoa now, you need some help, buddy. So using AI in that way is a very slippery slope. And I guess back to my point, the US is kind of playing this like high stakes, capital intensive game. So its geopolitical lead currently is being built on spending billions of dollars to build the absolute best models. And that strategy only really works if the domestic and global markets are actively using and paying for the technology. So we're in this like extremely cursed catch-22, because I think it's likely that an AI model will probably find an actual cure for cancer or any other rare diseases in the future. And there's also some very clear life-changing impacts that AI can have on society. But research labs running models to find cures, they're not going to have the spend, or they're not going to spend enough money on tokens to actually fund the development of the model that will finally be able to cure cancer and other rare diseases. But hundreds of millions of people asking AI for dating advice and to generate feet pictures might will. Which is why we're in the most cursed possible timeline. Like, this is just all cooked. Then on top of that, I mean, like, we have this like extremely worrying side of it as well, because I do believe AI can definitely be used as a weapon. I mean, that absolutely terrifies me more than anything else, honestly. And it definitely doesn't help that a bunch of the people who are running these companies and funding these companies keep saying the craziest things ever. Like, they just come across as the most disconnected human beings ever. Like, why would they go on interviews and come across like they're not even for the human race. Like, what? What's going on here?
You know, I think AI will probably, like, most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with serious machine learning.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
What do you mean you're not sure if you want the human race to survive or not? We live in some crazy times, but what's the disaster here? Well, actually, there's a lot of disasters happening at once. I think the response that the public is giving the creators for doing these events with OpenAI, that is a disaster for OpenAI because they need the adoption curve to keep going up. Because if hundreds of millions of people just stop using AI for whatever they can think of, that flywheel then breaks. And then tech companies would then see their AI divisions operating at unsustainable losses. Then without visible commercial returns, Wall Street and venture capitalists would force reduction in capital spending. And then the US would also stop building the massive infrastructure required to actually train the next generation of these models. And then on top of that, everyone's pension funds and 401ks would be completely washed because, you know, most of those are like consolidated in the Mag 7, which are now pretty much just AI companies. Then of course, China would also win massively if that happened because their models are currently cheaper and they could also build as many data centers as they can, as long as they can, I guess, keep on sneaking in US GPUs through their borders. So essentially, whoever was having internet intercourse with Grok on Twitter the other day is, I guess, keeping the big machine running, as disgustingly cursed as that sounds. I don't know. I hate this timeline. We live in some very cursed times, that's for sure. I guess regardless, it just seems like the gentrification shall continue. Yeah, we're just in a cooked position. But rest assured, there's set to be another LA influencer OpenAI event this weekend. So, I guess all we can really do is see how all this pans out. So the question is, will this bubble burst? Or will everyone in the entire world start using AI daily?
My dead body.
But seeing all of this unfold is definitely a very interesting temperature check for what's currently going on. Because, you know, I sit here and I analyze. I just see things. I see things and I go, noted. And then I share my findings with you guys. So that's kind of what we've been doing here. This will be interesting to see how it unfolds. So hey, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.